Welcome to the new IT. Here we are, the new IT once again. Brad, what's going on with the show today, Brad? Tell us about the show.
Oh, lots of stuff. So
there's all kinds
always,
of crazy things going. No, we're just got an interview. We're just interviewing a person, aren't we?
Yeah.
That's disrupting the world with their technology.
Absolutely. So that disruptor today is Joshua from PhishFirewall. So
PhishFirewall, Joshua with Fish. Gosh, I'm excited today. I'm sorry, Josh. I'm
just a little bit.
I must have had a Mountain Dew or something, so I'm really excited to talk to.
Just one?
PhishFirewall. No, okay, maybe three.
That's what I thought. So,
2 liters, maybe 2 liters.
Exactly. Just kidding. So welcome, Josh. I mean, so why don't you just give us a little bit of intro about you, your company, and we can start to dive in from there.
Let's find out.
Yeah.
PhishFirewall. I'm totally, what the heck is PhishFirewall?
Yeah, so, as you guys just said, my name is Joshua Crumbaugh. I come from an ethical hacking background. So I've done everything from talk my way into bank vaults to literally, rob banks digitally to the casinos, getting into their money cages, stuff like that.
You're paid to do that, right?
Yeah. So companies pay me to come in and test their security.
Wow.
And throughout my career, we never found a place that we couldn't get into. And it was in large part because of phishing. Phishing is just a massive problem. And so I set out to build this technology specifically to keep people like me out.
Ooh.
Joshua, you're my new best friend.
Yeah, that is. So phishing, I know we're an IT podcast and or a technology podcast, and everybody knows what phishing is, but I think we should talk about it for a second. So when we say phishing, most of the time we're talking about somebody sends us an email. Hey, this is Jerry from finance. I need you to go get me a bunch of gift cards,
right?
for some strange ass reason.
Hey, we've got a party going on. We want to, celebrate the team or whatever.
Hey, this is IT, and we really need you to log out and log back into your login account, right? That's what we're talking about when we talk about phishing. All of those kind of things. And I want to know, I mean, let's talk about this. How are you stopping that? Because this is a pretty big deal. I mean, they send from all kinds of emails, they spoof emails, they look legit. So a lot of times they don't even try very hard and they don't even look very legit, but people still freaking click on them. So I'm curious, what do you guys do?
Well, so we'll start with the phishing problem. You asked a couple questions there.
I'm all over the place, man.
Phishing is costing U.S. businesses $21 billion a year.
Wow.
And that's with 100% year-over-year increase in phishing attacks. I mean, it's the biggest problem in cybersecurity, and it's not going away. And over 95% of the breaches that you hear about in the news every day, these start with a phish click. 95% of them, and so it's certainly the biggest problem we have. So what we do is, let's rewind. My entire sector of security awareness, anti-phishing, accepts that the human is the weakest link in the security chain.
Always.
But the problem is every one of my competitors put humans in the link of trying to fix the problem. So what we've done is we've really removed the humans, but we have a patented or a patent pending behavioral modification engine that's driven by AI. And what it does is it has, over 10,000 automation rules, as well as over 1,000 emotional triggers that are designed to influence you on a subconscious level. And basically, social engineering is the problem. Social engineering is manipulating human instinct to get people to do what you want. That is how the bad guys are getting people to click. So basically, we built out an AI that is smart enough to use AI as a form of defense and literally program your users to be less susceptible. And so we like to say we put human virus definitions in. So while everyone else is playing to this or doing the traditional frontal lobe training, we're really focused on the limbic system to get that subconscious response. And we use this proven technology. It's a military approach called the Ooda Loop. And basically what the Ooda Loop is it stands for Observe, Orient, Decide, Act. So this was used by fighter pilots and the U.S. military to actually improve their response times and help with, actually help us win a few different wars. So, Ooda Loop's this proven methodology that's already used mainly for increasing response and conditioning. And so we've just developed that into a technology. And the really cool thing is it's 100% automated because we've added AI. You don't have to do a thing. It's all done for you. I mean, as a company, all you have to do is log in and take a look at the results and, of course, keep us accountable. But yeah, all you really have to do is log in and check the results. And with every other product, it's a tool. You have to log in, you have to manage it, you have to use it. With ours, it customizes the training to each and every individual user. And one really cool thing, we find out what you're most likely to click on, or our AI does, and it begins beating up on you with that type of attack until you're no longer susceptible.
Wow.
Oh.
I like that.
So we usually ask, the first question is how are you a disruptor? And I think you've answered
absolutely.
that question. You absolutely have answered that question. I still am a little, is it a network appliance? Is it is it MX records? Is it purely email? What is the technology?
So this is an AI that's deployed in the cloud. So you have no agents, nothing that needs to be deployed on premise.
Oh,
what it is our AI just simply interacts with your users through email. There's no login required for them, so it's really easy for them to learn. We can track everything. And so the only login you have is for your IT or your information security staff to sort of get in behind the scenes, check out user report cards and, other analytics in the company. Really cool stuff, like what departments are most susceptible to what types of phishing attacks. Metrics that people really haven't been looking at before, but are really, really important. So, and the reason is we found that two of the most vulnerable departments in every company are developers and salespeople. But guess what? They don't click on the same types of phishing attacks.
No.
And that's really important.
Two way different people.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So we found there's 8 different types of common phishing attacks. And if you don't systematically go through those, you may never, find out all of your risks. So with the average company only phishing once every 3 months, if you were to systematically go through those, that's 2 years to even identify all of your risk. And so it's just not happening quickly enough. And I think that's because we're not trusting AI enough. This isn't just with my sector, it's across all of information security.
So can we use this? So I'm in security as well a little bit. I have clients, and so if we do trainings, let's say the big thing now is to kind of try and train the people. Like you said, that's kind of the impact that we're trying to tell people what not to do and all that good stuff. But what you're saying and what I'm thinking is, you can see if that's even being a little bit effective. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Using your product.
Absolutely. So you're going to be a little bit effective with that. But the problem with getting people to consciously avoid clicking is that our susceptibility changes. So say you're really great. You normally don't click on things. But now you have a death of a loved one, or you go home and your wife says, I'm leaving you and I'm taking the kids, when these things happen, and they do every day with our employees, it changes their risk because now they're distracted. And that's the reason it needs to happen on a subconscious level, because the other thing that happens is curiosity doesn't get the best of them when, without even realizing it or knowing why, they just move on and they say, next, there's something off with that. And when it's a subconscious response, that's when you can get sub 1% phish click rates. And it only takes one person clicking. So if you're not driving near 0%, there's really minimal or no return on investment with a tool like this. You find the reduction in incidents, the reduction in malware, the reduction in ransomware when you get to that near 0% phish click rate. So, we all have to drive for 0, and I'm sorry to my competitors, but 2 to 5% isn't good enough. It's just not cutting it.
No,
Wow.
not even.
Okay, this must be cost thousands and thousands of dollars for an enterprise license or something crazy like that, right?
Not really. I mean, for
put
smaller
you on the
companies,
spot.
it sort of starts at 5,000 if you're a small company, and it goes up. But our pricing is for an enterprise customer on average around $15 to $20, depending on the number of users per year per user. It's very, very ineffective,
Very affordable,
very
yeah.
inexpensive, very effective, very inexpensive.
Awesome. So I'm gonna ask a question, kind of going back a little bit. You said there were two groups that are most susceptible. Why do you think developers are or one of the two that are susceptible?
They're supposed to be the smart guys,
right? I'm curious about that one. I mean, why is that?
They're heavily targeted, but they're highly analytical. So, they're susceptible to the business communications type phishes. Hey, this is Susan from HR. We've had a benefits change or benefits package change. I need you to sign, this document stating that you understand, or something like that. And so when they're told to do something, because they do tend to be more that engineering mindset, they want to make them happy, and so they try to jump on it and do it very quickly. I will say that we often catch these attacks from the developers, even though they're very likely to click on them. They're also the ones that will have a million questions about it. So if they're pretending to be from the help desk, they'll actually call the help desk and be like, hey, I got these instructions and I'm not quite understanding what you're saying. So in their defense, they do report a lot of these phishing attacks, I think on accident more often than on purpose. But
I got to do it right. I need to do it right. You need to tell me how to do it right. There's a system we need to follow.
Yeah, and the other one is sales. So sales, they're trying to develop relationships and get out there and hustle and close deals. So with salespeople, social media themed phishes tend to be very effective. Why? Because they're trying to connect. So it plays in with all of these to human instinct. The one I joke about is for anyone in IT or information security or really even IT, the phish that I have to send them to get anyone to click in a second is LastPass master password reset. So if you get that alert saying your master password was reset in LastPass, who's clicking in this room? Anyone? You don't use LastPass?
Nope, I don't. Thankfully.
But I know exactly what you're saying, and I get it.
Yep. Exactly.
I would freak out.
Interesting. So, I mean, having said that, I mean, what are they getting more sophisticated with their phishing attempts, or I mean, help me understand that a little bit more.
Does seem like
they are. So the number one threat, especially with Fortune 50s, has gone beyond just phishing. I sat in on a Fortune 50s, State of the Union, if you will. I think that's what they called it, but it was their information security annual review. And the number one topic that they spent the most time talking about was AI-driven phishing attacks. So the bad guys are using AI to target us. They have technology smart enough to scrape LinkedIn, find your name, find your title, and then go find employees of yours and reference your name or pretend to be you. All of this completely automated. And so, one of the things I've been saying for years is that you have to fight fire with fire. It's social engineering and it's AI that's being used against us. If we're going to be successful, we have to use AI to our advantage. And so, I mean, it also comes down to understanding psychology, though. And I could talk on this forever because, most companies are employing the wrong people to handle their information security. And I don't mean to say that negatively because I'm an information security person. I do have a psychology background, and we have people on our team with education and human intelligence backgrounds that have helped really build this. But it's important to understand the psychology element far more than it is important to understand cybersecurity. So what we do is we take our cybersecurity people who are going to get way too technical, and we put them in charge of education. So they get into the weeds. They make this subject that people are already intimidated by more intimidating. Whereas we need educators that understand, both the science behind learning, but the psychology behind behavioral modification, because I mean, that's what has to happen. We have to use the same tactics the bad guys are using against us.
I mean, I couldn't agree more. I mean, it makes sense, and knowing the fact that you're going that extra step, I mean, I think that's huge, because you're putting the human in the AI piece of it to make sure that you don't have these issues come up again. So it's creating that awareness. That's awesome.
Yeah, I've got a question. Because you've said that and the psychology around it and all this good stuff, it seems to me there's a reason that phishing works, right? It works because people click on stuff. Right? And the reason the bad guys do stuff is because it works. Now, the second it stops working, they'll stop doing it, correct?
Well, it's always going to be the low-hanging fruit. So one of the things we have to do is make sure that we are smarter and better than, I'm going to pick on Joe down the street, because Joe doesn't have good IT security, and let's make sure that we are a more difficult target.
We run faster than the guy, not the bear.
Essentially.
Exactly. So if we fix the phishing problem, they're going to find other targets. So I don't think it's just that, we do this and it solves everything. Excuse me. This is the biggest issue, but it's one of many. And I think that to really prevent the hackers, you have to be monitoring everything. You have to know what you have on your perimeter. You have to know what you have on your network. There's a lot more. I mean, it all comes down to understanding risk. So it's one of my pet peeves. We get into networks, and most companies don't even know what all's on their network. But if they do know what's on their network and they can articulate their risk, when you ask them about their people, they have zero insight into their risk. And to me, my people are an endpoint. And they're an endpoint that can let people into my network or keep them out of my network. And so, I think it's important to understand the risk of each individual. And we actually assign, or our AI assigns, a high, medium, and low risk ranking to each and every user. And it's really cool because we send them an email. I'll tell you, users, I see these gamification things where they give people stickers and badges, and no one, excuse my language, no one gives a shit. But with this, you send somebody an email that says, hey, you're considered a high risk user. You're one of the least security aware individuals at this company. We're going to increase the amount of education and phishing emulations to help you get better at detecting malicious content. We'll update you again in 30 days. They only have to get that email one time.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. I mean, nobody wants to get that email, or nobody wants to be on that list. So,
and that's a real motivator. Just the stickers, like you said, and all that stuff doesn't really. It reminds me of learning your mission statement and all that. Yeah. Nobody really gives a crap. But when you call them out and you hold them accountable, oh crap! I'm not just somebody that can skate through the crowd. So I like that. I got to ask the question. So who takes care of your technology? Do you have a dev team, or how does that work? We always like to talk about kind of open the hood and nitty gritty without, giving away any trade secrets, but who kind of takes care of your stuff?
And I'm going to piggyback on that too and ask, and why should people want to come work with you?
Well, so to date, it's mainly been myself and my business partner that have done the development. We are in the process of putting together a small development team to do a few really cool projects on our roadmap, some functionality that we want to add to it, such as OSINT or open source intelligence integration, where we'll have bots go scrape and get additional demographic information on our users. Which in turn can help us both target the users better, and B, not only can we target the users better, but we can provide our customers with deeper insight into their risk. So we are building out that team, and I'm really excited to sort of see this thing go to the next level. We just closed the first half of our seed round. So, we got $1.2 million to put into some, not all development, mostly sales and marketing, I'll be honest.
Right.
And we've got another,
get the word out.
I'm sorry, we got 1.3 closed and we got another 1.2 on the way. So, we're excited to see where that goes. As to why people should come work with us, we're doing some really cool stuff. And where we don't really care where you work or how you do it, as long as you get it done. So we're right now mostly a virtual company. Of course, we do have a fun office. We try to make it more like, comfortable. It doesn't feel like an office. It's meant to feel more like you're just hanging out at home and not in this sort of professional environment. We don't really have a lot of clients come in there, so our environment's tailored to our people.
Awesome.
Cool.
Where are you guys located? I mean, for people to know.
Yeah, so we're in Rocket City. It's Huntsville, Alabama.
Okay.
And it's a town that you probably haven't heard a whole lot about. But this is where Space Camp is.
Okay.
This was also the town that built the rockets that put us on the moon, or that put a man on the moon. So
supposedly,
sort of the supposedly.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I was actually waiting for that one.
That joke.
Don't tell anybody.
But you've got a lot of government research here, so
cool.
The government spends around $60 billion a year, and Silicon Valley just put about $10 billion into the town. So it's the biggest town in Alabama, and one of the most highly educated towns in the United States. I believe it has the highest number of PhDs and engineers per capita.
Really?
I had no idea.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's actually why the FBI is moving all of their cyber to Huntsville.
Huh.
I had no idea.
That's cool.
That's
so
awesome.
I've got to ask, what do you see the future of your company? What do you see the future of what you guys are going to create? Do you see some changes down the road? What's the future for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we're going to expand. One of the first things, like I was talking about, is the OSINT. I think that's going to enable us to get better results quicker. Part of what we try to do is minimize disruption. One of the cool things about customizing everything to the individual is that you accomplish or find the holy grail of IT, which is doing more with less. So we're able to disrupt less and do a lot more, because your bad users get as many touch points as they need, but your good users get as little as we can possibly do. So essentially, we put them into a maintenance mode. As we can learn more about you, we can target you. So, maybe we find out that you're an avid golfer. So you get put into the golf phishing queue or something like, to that regard. So we're working on that, as well as a lot more, individualized categories, such as the golf example. So, finding, really dissecting all of our content. So we've got all this content, and we got it into these broad categories, and we've got a few micro categories. But we're really working on expanding it to really get every little micro category you can imagine. So if you have some weird email, I joke, I was going to say email fetish, but if you've got some weird thing that you're likely to click on, we're going to find it, and we have a whole content bucket devoted to finding that.
Wow,
so right now we've got about 100 different categories, and we want to expand that to closer to 1,000.
Wow, that is awesome.
Very interesting.
Yeah,
it's the future. I'm telling you. Technology and IT in this world, there's a lot coming around the corner. With that said, where do you see the future of tech in general? Not just yours, but where do you see the future going? Since this is the new IT, we like to ask that question. You're kind of at the forefront of what you're doing. What do you see in the future?
I mean, I really think it's a lot more of variations or plays on what we're doing. So AI-driven automation. You're in IT, so there's just constantly too much for IT to do. They can't stay on top of it. That's the reason these mistakes are happening. as a hacker, it was maybe the average user that got us into the network, but it was IT that guaranteed we, got the keys to the kingdom within minutes of getting into the network. And their mistakes. So, and it's nothing personal. I'm not, trying to criticize IT. What I'm saying is everyone is overwhelmed in information security and IT. And the way we're going to dot all these I's correctly and cross all these T's correctly is if we utilize more automation and more AI in all of our processes. So another example is patch management. I see all these, a lot of places still with manual patch management, automate that at the places that, I handle cybersecurity for. It's 100% automated. So that, we don't have to worry about not having something patched because somebody didn't do something. It's automated. And if it breaks down, I'm asking, well, what happened with the tool? And so we've got to do what we can to make our tools and our purchases more effective. And I think that's utilizing AI really across the board for any tasks that we possibly can.
So you're and we get this a lot. The future, you believe, is automation, AI automation, taking us out of the picture because we're usually the one that screws stuff up anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's
I wouldn't
human.
say taking us out of the picture, but
okay, not destroying us.
Yeah, there will always be a job for us, but helping make sure people are more effective at what they do.
There we go. That's a better way to say it. That's
Exactly.
much better.
So,
I'm all Skynet it, and yeah, that's better.
I mean, I know you kind of already answered this, but like, where do you envision like AI going? I mean, I know we talked about like tech in general, but specifically, like, where is AI going? I mean, I'm curious. I'm not more of that IT professional like you guys, so I want to know for my own, knowledge.
I mean, I really think that AI has a long way to go before we hit, that Skynet level or artificial general intelligence.
Singularity.
If we figured out singularity tomorrow, we don't have the processing power to give it for it to really be this crazy, scary thing.
Yeah.
If it was smart enough to spread and develop its own exploits and all that, sure, but it has to get smart enough to do that on the constraints that initially starts. So, I think we're a long way from Skynet. Do we have the ability? I think it'll probably happen in our lifetime that we create something that has a greater power of thought. When I don't think we'll ever get to the level of human thought. But I think we can give computers pretty decent thought, but it's probably 10, 15 years out before we really get there.
That's what we're getting.
I don't think we have to worry about computers taking over the world. And if you have a developer smart enough to do that, they'll be smart enough to just give them an irrational fear of us and, make sure robots see us as gods.
Right.
There you go.
I do.
Right.
That's what, yeah. See, the developers get it.
Exactly.
You have to have that developer mind to understand that. We still control. We still control.
Exactly.
Awesome. This is great. This is good. Any other questions, Brad? This is cool. Do you have any last words? Any information to give? Gold nuggets for those out there.
And where can people find you at?
Yeah. How do they get a hold of PhishFirewall?
Yeah, so you can check us out, www.phishfirewall.com. That's PHISH, firewall.com. And in terms of last words, one of the biggest recommendations I have is get proactive about your cybersecurity. Almost every company, their entire investment in cybersecurity is for reactive tools. And I'm not saying that those tools aren't great, but they're antivirus, they're firewall, their anti-malware, things like this are all designed around what happens after your person clicks. Preventing them from clicking in the first place is one of the most effective things we can have. And so at least make some investment in being proactive as opposed to just having all of our investment being reactive. You'll never stop everything.
Advice.
So, may as well start at that initial layer. And I've always found that's where the biggest benefit is.
Wow. Awesome. That's great. And I agree. I mean, if you can be preventative, let's do it.
Yeah. It makes total sense. It's funny that it's taken this long for anybody. I mean, antivirus, all that stuff's been around forever, and they've kind of owned the security space, and it never helped anything. I mean, it kind of stopped some stuff, but it doesn't help stop it from continuing. In fact, it maybe grows.
Invest in antivirus. Go with CrowdStrike. It's not really antivirus; it's EDR, but it's the same thing, just a lot better.
There you go.
But go with CrowdStrike. Any hacker will tell you CrowdStrike is by far the best EDR on the market. Not to help out or promote somebody, but
I already wrote it down.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, man. This is awesome.
Yeah.
We got to wrap it up.
Yeah, I mean, this has been this has been great.
Yeah, thanks for being on the show. We appreciate having you. This has been The New IT. We will see you next time.